Welcome to day 5. And today we return to Luke's Gospel and Luke's account of Jesus' birth. We return to chapter 2, and it says this. In those days a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that the whole empire should be registered. The first registration took place while Quirinius was governing Syria. So everyone went to be registered, each to his own town. Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and family of the line of David, to be registered along with Mary, who was engaged to him and was pregnant. While they were there, the time came for her to give birth. Then she gave birth to her firstborn son. She wrapped him tightly in cloth and laid him in a manger, because there was no guest room available for them. So we think about the actual birth of Jesus and how it comes about. In many ways, it's such a normal human birth, such a regular way of being born. While this is divine and he is conceived of the Spirit, he is Emmanuel, he is God with us, he is fully human, and he has a totally normal human birth. And yet, like everything in this story, it is brought about by the hand of God. A census goes out to ensure that Jesus will be born in Bethlehem. And so they arrive in Bethlehem, a small town that very few people cared about, nothing really there. But they arrive in Bethlehem, fulfilling the promise in the prophets that the Messiah would be born there. And God's hand is on Mary and Joseph being in Bethlehem at this time. But as they arrive in Bethlehem, as they register, as they have to do as part of the census, it's time for Mary to give birth. And unlike the popular images of Jesus' birth in a dusty stable somewhere in the outback, that's not quite how it goes. It's translated correctly in this version that there was no guest room available for them. Joseph, no doubt, is staying with his family as he goes to register. And each home in Judea would be fairly standard, with the animals kept on one floor, the people living on another floor, and off that there would be a guest room. Because of the culture, hospitality was really important. And so they would have this guest room for visitors and travelers to stay in. But there's no room in that guest room, probably because it's occupied by some of Joseph's other relatives. And so Mary gives birth with the other women on hand in the central room where everybody would have been staying, with the rest of Joseph's family. I'm sure there would be privacy as this took place for Mary. But Joseph's relatives would have been on hand to help her to give birth, to act as the midwives in this story. And there is a very normal, very family-centered birth as Mary gives birth in this family home as Joseph, with the other members around. Jesus is born into a regular family. And this first Christmas takes place in a home, surrounded by people who are there to care and look after him. And so, as he is born, he is wrapped tightly in cloth and he's laid in a manger, a feeding trough, because that's probably what was available. They would have probably cleaned it down, put everything in it, and laid Jesus in this manger so that he can sleep and rest there in a family home. And so as we think about this Christmas, we think about God's hand on the whole story and bringing about Jesus' birth. And yet we realize it's in a very ordinary place, a home like yours and mine, surrounded by relatives of Joseph who look after Jesus as he is born. And so we see the humanity in this, that Jesus really is like one of us, having a birth like any one of us. So we see the real humanity of the one who has come, who is just like us, but has come to save us.